Greetings everybody, welcome to G4G here on YouTube. Today's background music is brought to you by no copyright sounds and hopefully will not be loud and distracting like the last video. And I'm your host, as always, Napalm Dawn. So today we're going to talk about the possible features of Saviors of the Multiverse, which is the Marvel Avengers Alliance project that is going on currently. Now, we're not going to confuse this with the Marvel Avengers Alliance Rebirth project, which was the one that had occurred quite a while back, and it was the one where the guy was parading around a bunch of different forums saying, hey, this Russian developer will work on it if we raise $1,000. And it was like, if all the fans of the Marvel Avengers Alliance game even just contributed $1, we'd have the $1,000. Yeah, that smelled like scammy McScam right from the beginning over there. This one is different. This is, of course, Saviors of the Multiverse, that dev by the name of Gaming Life Beginner is trying to bring back over here. He's had some setbacks in his life that delayed the initial project, which was due out around somewhere between Thanksgiving and Christmas, and now we have a new date. The last video that I did on the subject, of course, talked about the possible release date that he's talking about. This video, we're going to talk about the features and the changes to the game, what you could expect out of the game once it releases. Now, you may have grown up hearing about the game called Telephone. It's where you line up about 5-10 different people, you whisper something in the first person's ear, and they keep whispering it to the person next to them until it goes down the line, and then you see how much the final message is like the original message. You know, you might say, Bob didn't have his bathroom pass out in the hall, and at the end you find out it's something like Bob got kicked in the balls or something like that. Well, to eliminate the telephone game, I'm going to read out the message directly as it was posted in the Multiverse Saviors Discord. So you're not going to get any paraphrasing from me. You can see it on the screen. Exactly what I'm talking about over here. So there is no, well, Napalm said this, but this is really what it is. This is a direct representation over here. So here's what we've got going on. Red Fred happened to put out in the Discord yesterday that here's the information from GLB. The beta release will be on the Infinity War movie US release date. We've known that. It's going to be an offline game due to the copyrights. We know that. GLB is bringing it back, so he can't take any money because he can't earn any profit. So this music's a little distracting. I wish I had an in-between over here. This music's, there we go. That should be good. Okay, that's perfect. So we've known that it's going to be offline. We know that he's not going to get any money from this. It can't be. He'd have to set up credit card transactions, PayPal transactions. There's no way he could do money. He could set up like maybe a Patreon or a PayPal and then only give you the game if you paid, but that, of course, runs into copyright protection laws. And before I get further into this, I just wanted to discuss with you guys, in case you don't know much about this, what exactly goes on when you're using other people's property in a fan game. So if you look up a game on the internet called I Want to Be the Bashi, I came across this game in a segment on Amazing Games Done Quick, which is currently running, and it's going to only run for maybe about a total of 48 more hours. It runs Saturday to Sunday, and we're in the final weekend over here. They're well over $1 million already. But somebody was speed running I Want to Be the Bashi, which is a web-based game that is kind of like one of those you're going to die 50 million times games. And there's assets from all over the place. There's Mario, there's Trollolo guy, there's Sonic, there's World of Warcraft loading screens. I mean, there are characters from all walks of gaming life and even outside games. And it got me thinking, shit, I mean, these are using direct sprites and direct World of Warcraft loading screens. I know that because I spent years looking at those screens. And I mean, it's very clearly Mario, and it's Godzilla's roar sound. How is it that they can get away with using it directly when we have an army full of people on this Discord recoloring everything and, you know, worrying about what we're going to rename these guys? Again, I always give the example of Iron Man's going to be Ferris Dude. Or, as a commenter in one of the last videos said, Avalanche could be Rock Slide Man, which sounds like a Mega Man boss, but, you know, or Geodude or Geomover. I mean, you know, we're going through all this trouble, but here's a game that's literally lifting things directly. I discovered what the deal was, is that I Want to Be the Bashi, because it does not aim at a specific IP, a specific set of intellectual property, and takes from all over the place and highly warps the scenarios in which they're used. It's considered transformative, and it's not directly pulling one specific media property that's out there. And that's why Bashi is allowed to get away with it, whereas Saviors would not. Because Saviors is only pulling from the Marvel Universe, and you know, the names would be the same, the colors would be the same. There is nothing transformative about it. It literally would be a re-release of the game with the minor tweaks that we're going to talk about. And I should have thought of that before and investigated it before because of Mugen. Now, I've never particularly played Mugen, but everybody's run into Mugen videos and everything on YouTube and the net before, of like Ronald McDonald versus the Burger King, or what's his name, Dio, the guy, I think it's Dio or Dio Brandon, the guy who takes the steamroller and dumps it on somebody. He goes, wee! That, like, from Mugen, it is, yeah, I think it is Dio from, like, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure or something like that. But we've all seen those crazy fights of, like, Homer Simpson versus Peter Griffin. That is directly, that's not a recolored Homer. He's called Homer, and it's his skin, and it's his sprite, and it's his color, directly fighting Peter Griffin from Family Guy. You know, sound effects and everything. It's because Mugen is so universal, and again, transformative. You're taking two cartoon characters and putting them in a fighting game, so they are transformed. Saviors would have no transformative elements. That's why things have to be the way they are. So, as Chris, a member of the Saviors Facebook group, was often talking about, what about Tiny Mighty, which I reviewed on this channel a long time ago and was like, my god, this is awful. Like, Professor X was Wheels, or Mental Wheels, or something like that, and Phoenix was Jeannie Gray, or Jeannie Black. Like, I forget what it was. I mean, you knew what you were looking at, but they were different. The outfits were different. Their proportions were different. Maybe the colors were the same. They had been changed just enough to kind of skirt by. That's what Saviors is doing. And that's why things have to be the way they are. But fear not, we're going to talk about what happens if you want to get the game more like the MAA that you knew. So, okay, back on topic. You can't spend any real money to get gold, CP, or silver. The only way you can get it is to farm and grind. PvP will come with an update after the release with fake AI players, as it's an offline game. Maybe PvP with local players might be possible. I don't really expect that. I mean, what would you do? Hot potato style? Where, you share a keyboard and you click your move when it's your turn, then you hand the mouse and keyboard over to the other person. I mean, the chances of LAN party MAA, I gotta tell you, are really, really slight. A local player PvP, I don't know about that. I mean, how often do we hear of MAA players in the same place, in time, in physical locality? I mean, this isn't like Evo, where Killer Instinct and Street Fighter players are all there in a hotel. I mean, nah, I just don't see it. Obviously, you're going to be going online and downloading people's quote-unquote ghosts or specters, however you want to put it, and then the AI will then control them based on what the agent's gear is, what Iron Man's ISOs are, and everything like that. So it's nothing surprising. Mobile games do that all the time. It's called AFK PvP. And actually, that's what MAA was. If you remember correctly, you never fought a live player. You just fought a constantly up-to-date version of that player. Here, you would download it on a certain day, all the people that are out there. Matchmaking could be interesting, because if we don't have a very... And this is actually, I'm pointing out a failure in the system over here. But we have to be honest. We have to consider everything. If in the beginning, when PvP is released, there's maybe only 20 people who have uploaded their setups, that pool is going to be so small, everybody's going to be in a lot of trouble. I mean, you could have that person who spent 24 hours a day running through this game and has got all this great gear, and you will encounter that person because you have to. I mean, you're one of 20 people. The matchmaking system isn't going to really be able to protect you at that point, because you're going to wind up fighting maybe the same 2 or 3 people around your gear over and over and over again. And then what? So that's a question for GLB. If the pool is small, are you going to fight everybody in the pool, or is he going to be able to institute good enough matchmaking? And if the pool is small and he has good matchmaking, then what? I mean, 5 low-level, diamond tier people are constantly going to be fighting themselves. Meanwhile, the guy way up in Adamantium's like, well, I'm king of the fucking mountain. Nobody's even close to me. I can't find anybody. I don't know. We'll have to see. But this one's a little sketchy. Maybe the best thing he could do is 2 months before he releases PvP, start encouraging people to upload in some way, shape, or form their PvP teams. And then, then maybe, make a deal with himself that, like, okay, I'm not going to release PvP until I get a pool of 1,000 people or something. Alright, so Spec Ops will be permanent and not a timely event. So obviously there's going to be a menu option where you can go and pick, sort of like the specials in Marvel Future Fight. How you have the Spider-Man's Rogue Gallery, you have the Inhumans, you have the New Avengers. I mean, New Avengers has expired a long time ago, but it's still available. So probably what it'll do is when a new one is released, it becomes the lead, but all the others are still available, which means you really can play on your own time and experience all the content. Which is good, because how many of us were MAA players that maybe came into the game late or got good at the game late and feel they missed out on early ones like Avengers versus X-Men or something like that. I mean, I was not a good MAA player at the time. I got decent luck during that one, but I was not the completionist that I was at the end. So that's pretty cool. That means nothing is ever beyond you, and it's more noob friendly because you can drop in 1.5 years after this game gets released, if it does, and still catch up to stuff. There's going to be an automated flight deck. Okay, and the game speeds could be manually changed. These two right here are some popular features from a add-on to the game, unofficial add-on to the game that existed. That was called Elite Hacks. Now, Elite Hacks is obviously elite speak for elite hacks, and it divided the community at the time the game was live, because elite hacks never really affected things in the game that would change your power level to destroy or be destroyed by the game and PvP. It automated like mundane things like the automatic flight decks and animations. An automatic flight deck makes sense for a non-pay game, because in all honesty, GLB has to make a game that is more like any RPG you would download from Steam. You can't really have to deal with that much energy timers and everything like that, because it's no longer a Facebook style game or a mobile style game that relies on your either money or your time. Think of Final Fantasy Tactics. Like, you got Final Fantasy Tactics for the PlayStation 1 20 years ago. You could do 6 battles that day, you could do 1, you could do 10, you could win the game in a day if you wanted to. Nothing stopped you other than your own time. Well, mobile games make you pay to skip time, but this is no longer going to be a paid game. So, you know, an automated flight deck is something that makes sense. Now, you could say, oh, well, an automated flight deck is bullshit. You know, I used to have to babysit my 20-minute flight decks all the time, and, you know, elite hacks, fuck that shit. That stuff was cheating. Yeah, you have a point, because elite hacks removed human error. If you were running 20-minute missions to get experience and get silver and everything, and you went outside and you mowed the lawn and you were out there for 2 hours and you set it on 20 minutes, yeah, elite hacks technically cheated on behalf of you. You screwed up and didn't refresh your 20 minutes for 2 hours. So elite hacks covered a human mistake. Very muddy waters when it came to elite hacks. Some people were of the opinion that it was definitely cheating. Other people were like, no, it's quality of life stuff the game should do anyway. I didn't have an opinion on it at the time because I didn't use it. But if people wanted to be against it, I was actually all for it, because it was a gray line. And me having come from the FPS arenas that I came from, being a competitive UT player, anytime you heard things like hacks, they were immediately bad. There was nothing, and even if it started off good, it often was twisted into being bad. For example, there was a hack that changed Unreal Tournament map textures to nearly being wireframe so that you got better FPS on shittier machines, except you could see things like around corners and stuff with the wireframe. So it was a well-meaning hack that then eventually turned bad. So I never used elite hacks. The game speeds could be manually changed. That's cool. Energy recharge time reduced. Very good, but in a way you could almost make the point of, well, there shouldn't be any energy recharge at all, because this is now an offline game, just like a Steam game. If I go pop in crosscode, nothing is stopping me from playing that game the way that I want to play it in the game itself. So why should this... And you have a point. Yeah, we're coming away from being a paid game, a free-to-play game with a pay component in it. Hopefully, he does us a solid on that one and makes it very easy to spend a long time in the game if you want to. Lockboxes won't expire. All the heroes from the original game will be there. The dev is going to release new updates to the game with new characters and uniforms. He's going to bring Season 3. The Discord is really heavily working on plots and characters and scripting for the seasons and the spec ops and everything. The game is no more cash machine. That goes without saying. It's obvious. I mean, even if Gaming Life Beginner didn't charge you to get the game, he would have no way of giving you a service if you paid him. You can't pay him money and he logs into your program and gives you gold. You can't, obviously you can't do that, and that would require really trusting him with all of your payment information outside of PayPal anyway, which is a very dangerous thing. So yeah, you cannot pay for this game whatsoever. I think even if you told him you wanted to donate $100 for his trouble or something because you love the game that much, even then it may be sketchy if anybody actually paid him via a donation. I just wouldn't even think about it because it might put the game in jeopardy. Just so don't. Lockboxes will cost 1 to 2 CP. Gold only has one utility. 1 gold equals 2 CP. A stat boost of old underpowered heroes. God, I hope he playtests that. Shield point removals or huge drops in missions. So, he's trying to get rid of a resource or make it abundant. I would more favor abundant energy over anything else. I mean, the game was pretty fair on most things, but energy, especially in the beginning when everybody's very hungry to play it again and has to play catch up because we're all at square zero, I think energy would be very important. Bonus gold at the end of chapters. All existing bugs and inconsistencies from the original game will be fixed. Rebalance in the control point costs of heroes. Reduce the cost of medium, large, and full energy to 1, 2, 3 gold respectively. Settings to turn dialogues on and off. Now, this was a feature we clamored for when the game was live, and Playdom never did it. And I understand why, because if they ever went back and retconned an old chapter for something, and you've turned it off, you're now ignoring their hard-earned work. And you might say, well, like that ever happened. Oh, but it did. They reworked some old Loki stuff when the Warriors of 3 came into the game. And then when the Warriors of 3 started getting some ISOs and everything, they redid an old heroic. So, yes, they did go back and, touch Season 1 stuff when we were balls deep in Season 2. So, yeah, we're not going to need it now. I mean, unless you download, a patch that changes something. But then, turn it back on again. We'll have to make new accounts for the game. Duh. I mean, I gotta tell you, that goes without saying, and I've said it right from the beginning. We all are gonna start at square zero. We're not gonna have access to what we had. There's no way on earth GLB could get that data because it resided on Playdom servers hooked in as an API through Facebook. So Facebook was passing an authentication over to Playdom servers. So there was a client-server discussion over there. GLB would not be in possession of that database. And if he was, potentially even payment records could be part of it and everything, which is obviously highly, highly dangerous. We're all back to square zero. Face it, there's nothing you could do about that. Don't even get it in your head you can get your old stuff back immediately. He's not a cloud save. There's nothing he can do about that. Dr. Doom and Kang will probably be single-turn heroes so that they can team up with the agent and another hero. This one. Not so much in Kang, but even Kang had a little bit of this, but Doom was really big on this. Making Doom a one-round hero kind of defeats some of his combos that he could do. It got better at the end where you had that quick summon ISO, on call I think it was, that allows a summon to be a quick action, and then you could do another thing. I'm fine. Well, he'd have to rewrite some team-ups. Like, he'd have to insert some team-up bonuses that never existed before, like Dr. Doom and Norman Reed. Is it Norman Reed? The Fantastic... Mr. Fantastic? God, I hope it's Norman Reed. I'm not thinking, like, Norman Reedus or something yet. But, yeah, like, he'd have to have, like, Fantastic Four stuff and Kang. I can't imagine who Kang would get team-ups for. He's probably encountered enough people. Like, maybe if... I don't know. Did he ever run into Silver Surfer at one point? Or one of his variants run into Silver Surfer? But yeah, I mean, obviously team-ups are going to have to constantly be in flux as we get new characters and everything. But yeah, that's something that would have to be coded for, is the names. And maybe the Discord... Maybe I could bring this up to the Discord and say, hey guys, if they're going to do Doom and Kang as one-shot, one-turn heroes, we need to think of some team-ups. And, you know, write up the name and everything like that. Initially, it would only be in English, but everybody could add their mother tongue. There are some translators here in the Discord already. I think there is a Spanish and maybe a Brazilian, so Portuguese, translators going on right now. There would be a folder where you could add your own mods, so similar to like the mod nexus of Fallout and Skyrim and everything. Probably people who do understand coding would probably be releasing some of their own mods. Hopefully we keep everything in an official repository. I think it would fragment the community if you created a mod and only hosted it where you hosted it, made everybody come to you, and then this other guy does his thing. I think hopefully maybe a website can be drawn up where people submit their mods to, and they can be checked for malicious code, and then if approved, everything's all in the same area. You know, like UT mods back in the day and everything. Incursions will probably come after the first update. That makes sense. Incursions were other players. I mean, it was PvP without the restrictions of PvP, so I don't think I would expect incursions until PvP is available. However, incursions can occur early because there are ways of countering the power difference between your group and somebody else. Just, you have your consumables and everything, so it'll run at the same FPS rate that it used to be on your PC, probably a bit faster because it's an offline game. Spec Ops will be released as chapters, 36 chapters from official release along with some new ones. He's going to give us the source code so we can mod it ourselves. GLB will give us the source code extracted from the game HTML5 after that. If you know the programming of HTML5, you can program your own heroes, chapters, etc. Question, is it going to be the same original game? Yes and no. It's going to include everything from the original game, but the character models and their names are going to be changed to avoid copyrights. Example, Iron Man is going to be called Metal Man, and the character model will be different from the original. Can we change character models and names back to the originals? Yes. The dev, Gaming Life Beginner, will make a tutorial on this, and it will be done with a simple copy-paste method. And supposedly GLB is coding the game in HTML5, CSS, JavaScript, PHP, SQL, JSON, and Ajax. I'm familiar with all of them. Ajax is new to me. It's not one I've heard before. I copy and pasted all of this to my coding girlfriend earlier, and I wanted her take on it before I did this video and said, you know, do these languages seem legit, all for a game that was based on Flash? Basically, I know somebody who knows this stuff, and I wanted her take on how real this seems to her. And not that she knew the old game. She knew a little bit of it through me, but reading this, would she be like, wow, that's actually a lot of coding in the background, or no, that's all simple stuff. He's not playing with like spinners, he's not changing priorities and stats other than the heroes over there, which may be tough. You know, I wanted her to say, like, it sounds like he's just doing a lot of cosmetic work and he's not really screwing with the core, so yeah, you know, a medium strength, beginner strength coder could do that stuff. And you know, how maybe Doom and Kang being one-turn heroes, that might be a little tough to work on. Unfortunately, she was busy at the time I linked her, so I don't have that opinion yet. But as soon as I can get her to look at it and pick her brain, and maybe she'll say, alright, HTML5 and JavaScript and CSS go together, but not SQL unless he's running a database, and Ajax has no part. You know, I know somebody who can tell me how much of this could potentially be bullshit. And that's what I wanted to pass on to you guys as an expert witness, I guess you could say, in a trial. But I don't have it right now. And I didn't want to wait to get this video into everybody's vision over here. So I think this is probably one of the biggest amounts of knowledge we've ever had, even from when GLB was talking about the game, back when he thought he was working on it. This is a very concise bit of information. I think it answers every question that anybody could really have about it, and it comes hot on the heels of the date or the timeline that he said he would get the beta out to us. So this is a huge update right on the heels fairly quickly of the last update. So maybe things are getting better for GLB. And again, you could start to have some belief in this, because why go through all the trouble of saying all this stuff and then turn around and be like, huh, psych, no, I don't have the source code. I wanted to watch you guys grovel for like a year. Again, it's such detail, such a long time. This is a very, very long and drawn out con for a troll, if it's a troll. So if you were like a 4 or a 5 on the hype scale, maybe you could allow yourself to come up to a more solid 5 or a 6. Again, I believe this guy from the beginning, but I'm not really budging from my 6 on the scale, or 5.5, until I start seeing, like what you would see on a trailer on a website for a game that's not out yet but is coming, like screenshots, a quick video clip of some of the animations in effect and the new UI, and Chris is like, I want to see the login screen. So yeah, and actually there's that one comment about everybody's account, everybody has to do a new account. It's an offline game, so what do you mean account? Like, what are we logging into? That's an interesting question. So okay guys, I'm gonna wrap it up. We do have that question about the login, which seems weird, unless, did he say we'll have to make new accounts for the game? I would just think you would, well, you have to name yourself something, because there's going to be the PvP uploads. Yeah, so this one, we will have to make new accounts. That bears looking into, like, what account. I mean, you get a game off of Steam, you just get it and you play it if it's an offline game. You know, Final Fantasy VI's PC release. You didn't need an account for that. You just went on Steam with your Steam account, you downloaded it, and you played it. I don't know. That one bears looking into. And then the other one that I said I would put out in the Discord and have them... Oh, Dr. Kang and Dr. Doom. Their team-ups. And would their stats increase a little bit if they're going to be single? So they're no longer relying on 2 turns to do their damage and setup. They may require a little bit more raw power. I mean, Dr. Doom at the end, had just about as many hit points as an agent, especially a tanking agent, and that's kind of pathetic. It shows that he just didn't keep up with the time. And Kang, I mean, God, fucking Kang was awful. Just could not make Kang good in any way, shape, or form. Even if the agent had some of the future set and everything, and the laser and the radiation, just very, very hard to find a place for Kang. So, there you go, guys. I'm going to put the question out right now about Doctor Doom and Kang and say to people we got to start coming up with team-ups. If I get the girlfriend to weigh in on what I pasted to her over here, I'll put it as a comment. So keep checking back on the video. Give it a like. Subscribe if you haven't already to keep up with this stuff. You can follow me on Twitter. The tweet always goes out about my videos as they get posted. And no, unlike the president of my country, I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, all you people in shithole countries, follow me on Twitter. I'm so sorry for the rest of the world from what our Cheeto-headed fuckface is doing, but I can only apologize for that, but so much. Anyway, hope you liked the video, guys, and hope you're maybe a little bit more excited.